My name is Emma Royal, and this is a presentation on astrology. What in astrology are you curious about? In simplistic terms, astrology can be described as a map of the soul's intent. My training is classified as shamanic astrology, and shamanic astrology is described as what is visible under the night sky. My teacher is Daniel Giamario, and he invented shamanic astrology. His teachers are Dane Rujar, Mark Edmund Jones, and the original teacher, Hermes Trismegistus. So he is the original astrologer, and he has the quote, "That which is above is that which is below. That which is within is that which is without." So basically, this states that we are a microcosm of the universe. So the universe is that macrocosm, and we are a reflection of that. And Mark Edmund Jones was the first person to bring astrology to the West during the Victorian era, and he invented what is called Sabian symbols. And Dane Rujar learned under Mark Edmund Jones, and he also popularized Western astrology in the West, and he brought in the esoteric view of astrology. So here are some facts about astrology. It was originally intended for countries or royalty to make tactical or political decisions. Astrology was never intended for the individual level. It was meant for countries and for making major decisions for large groups of people. Astrology was an esteemed study for great thinkers during the Renaissance. So great thinkers were invited to study at university, and it was like at the level of becoming a scientist or a doctor. It went into hiding during the Crusades, and it was put into symbols. And it became modernized with the daily sun-based astrology, which you'll see in the daily horoscopes. And it gives a more simplistic view of what is really a complex art and science. So when you read the daily horoscope, it kind of gives a broad stroke of your sun sign. And it may or may not fit you because this is just a general overlay which overlays your entire chart. And there are a combination of more than 12 aspects or planets, dwarf planets, asteroids. And when you put them in the sign and the house position and multiply all that, that creates an infinite possibility of explanations of astrology. So really the sun-based astrology is just really scratching the tip of the iceberg. In a sense, this daily horoscope is sort of bastardized, a very complex, esteemed study. So there is quite a misunderstanding about what astrology is. So shamanic astrology is considered sidereal astrology. It's based on what is visible in the night sky. So from Mercury on up to Saturn is what was visible. And Western astrology utilizes the tropical zodiac, which is based on the seasons. And the seasons are fixed beginning at Aries, which marks the vernal equinox. And it starts on March 21st, regardless of where the sun is in against the backdrop of the zodiac. It is always March 21st in the sign of Aries. So what is the difference between tropical and sidereal zodiacs? These two measurements of the night sky more than 2,000 years ago coincided. And there's a difference now that is a crude sense of about 24 degrees. So 2 millennia ago, these two zodiacs overlapped, while now there's almost an entire zodiac sign of variance between them. So originally 0 degrees Aries was on March 21st, over 2,000 years ago. Now, when you look at the actual constellations in the night sky on March 21st, you're looking at Taurus. So the difference that is caused by the phenomena is called the precession of the equinoxes, which makes it so that the point of the vernal equinox drifts back slowly in relation to the fixed stars. So every 72 degrees, it shifts, or every 72 years, the equinox shifts back 1 degree. So the nodes of the moon is an indicator or a symbol of the soul's intent. They are not actual planets, but there are magnetic points in the moon's orbit where the moon crosses the ecliptic, which is the path of the sun. So the Earth's path around the sun is the ecliptic. And due to the tilt of the moon's orbit, of a variance of around 5 degrees around the Earth, there is a crossing that intersects the ecliptic of the Earth from above and below. And these represent both the north and the south node. So from the ascending, you have the south node, and then descending, you have the north node. So if seen as a linear line, it undulates and moves like a sine wave, always moving forward or rhythmically like a snake, head and tail as day follows night. So in Chinese mythology, the dragon is considered, if you bring in astrology, the north node is the head of the dragon and the tail is the south node of the dragon. So symbolically, the snake is seen eating its own tail and configured in a figure 8 where the center represents infinity. The earth is in constant motion around the sun, and the moon is seen as the distributor of energy of the sun to and from the earth. The points of intersection of the ecliptic are points of distribution towards and away from earth, north and south, head and tail, yin and yang. As the nodes operate in one's life, it moves along an axis, creating an electromagnetic field towards one's destiny in a forward motion. The energy of the south node feeds and propels the north node in a never-ending story. So the north node focalizes our forward motion or intent in this lifetime. Any aspect that we have on the north node will reveal our attitudes towards our soul lessons and potential opportunities for growth. So moving the north node can be uncomfortable because it's uncharted territory, but it's ultimately where we're heading towards. And transits to the north node will open windows and they can present challenges depending on whether they're hard or easy transits, meaning if they're opposition squares, those are more challenging aspects, or trines, conjunctions, sextiles. And also how these alignments influence the rest of your birth chart as well. So the south node is more comfortable for us because it is where what we already know and what we've already learned. It is deeply embedded in your soul and subconscious. So the problem with the south node is that the energy is so familiar, it is so comfortable that it can become an emotional crutch or an emotional duress. So if we're over reliant on our south node, anytime we experience a challenge, we're not actually growing. So there is usually baggage associated with our south node. And so the goal is to use the south node in propelling you towards your north node. And some people believe in past lives, so you can also use the south node to represent past lives or early life. And it can also represent a lineage. So the goal of the nodes is to pull away from our south node as a crutch and instead use it as a foundation to build towards your north node. The moon's nodes change signs approximately 18 months or so then about 18.6 months to be exact. While it's possible to glean a lot from analyzing the sign that the node is in, and because it stays in there 18 months, there is more information that can be gleaned from examining the houses that the nodes reside in. And because the houses move positions approximately every 2 hours, it will reveal information even more personally for one. So look to the house position of the nodes from galactic perspective, and if you remember in my presentation of galactic, it reverses the wheel. And so if you look at the house position, they're going to give you even more clues of an evolutionary intent. And this is going to align you with your storyline. In shamanic astrology, we look to the house placement of the North Node and the rising sign to create a storyline, and the house placement of the South Node to create a lineage. So, for example, the first house North Node with a rising sign of Sagittarius would be called the Aries job in the Sagittarius tribe. So the first house can also be described as an Aries. So Aries and Sagittarius combined creates that storyline. And then you take the moon position and the South Node to create your lineage. So having a North Node in the first house, the nodes are always opposite. So that would create a 7th house South Node. And if you had a moon in Cancer, your lineage would be the Libra job, because the 7th house is Libra, the Libra job in the Cancer tribe. So while this is a lot to digest at once, if you'd like to receive an individual reading with me, you can visit me at indigotravelers.net, or you can schedule an appointment by calling or texting, or you can stop into the studio at 413 East 2nd Street in the Dalles. I look forward to working with you. Good journey.